All right. So again, thank you all for coming today. My name is Lisa Walker, and I am an assistant director in our career services department at the University of North Georgia. Just want to send a quick thank you to Dr. Laura Getty and Dr. Diana Edelman for asking us to participate in classes this semester and last semester. And again, just trying to provide more career ideas, opportunities, and such to you, the students in the English program. And so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to introduce you all to Matt Aiken from the Dahlonega Nugget. Angela, do I pronounce Angela DeClaires?
DeClaires.
DeClaires. And she is with BookLogix Publishing Services. And then we also have Natalie Dalton from the Oberman Law Firm. And if you guys, I'll go ahead and start with Matt. Maybe just give us a brief bio about yourself, maybe what your major was and how you've gotten to where you are.
Yeah, so I'm Matt. I work at the Nugget. I was once where you were because I was an English major, and that was like my third major. I think it's the one that stuck. I think. And that actually, I guess we'll kind of get into it a little bit more later, but it definitely helped me out for what I do now, which is I'll just show you. I help make this every week, the Dahlonega Nugget. I think it's backwards, isn't it? But no, okay. And yeah, that's it. It wasn't like I'd graduated and thought I'm going to go straight to a newspaper, but it definitely earning my English degree really prepared me for what my job eventually became. So it was a winding path, but it worked out. So
Thanks, Matt. Angela, we'll go to you.
Sure. I am not an English degree holder. I have a communication journalism degree. I wanted to be on television. I wanted to actually be a reporter on the floor of the stock market exchange when I was in high school, was obsessed. So went to school for that, and I was a TV news producer for a couple different TV stations in a place called Rochester, New York. While I was kind of doing my thing, my dad actually started BookLogix and got into book printing and book publishing. And after leaving TV, doing some public relations stuff for a while, ended up working with him. Never would have seen myself A, working with my dad, or B, working in publishing. But I love it. It's great. I love helping, excuse me, I love helping writers to publish their books. I know Matt, of course, from working with us. So yeah.
Great. And Natalie, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I was a psychology major. I was a business psychology major, actually. And I actually ended up going back to school a little bit later in life. So I had some career experience working in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles for several years. And then in 2015, decided that I wanted to go back to school and kind of upskill and, really understand, I had taken some time to be a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I wanted to re-enter the workforce. And so I thought going back to school and upskilling would be good for me. But I definitely learned a lot about behavior and psychology and communication. And I think, that's going to be a big key about like Matt and Angela were saying is, such a big key of the English major and how you can utilize that across so many different industries. So I certainly feel like while business psychology, and then I have a master's degree in human resources management, those have really helped me be a subject matter expert, but you're also having to communicate and you're having to persuade and share your ideas and get people to understand what, works and what's not. So communication is always such a huge part of that.
Great. Well, thank you to all three of you. That was great. It was very interesting, and I look forward to hearing your answers. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first question out there is, what skill sets should English majors be developing in addition to their major to prepare for future employment? And I will just let you all take turns and answer.
Well, I can go first. So one of the things that I was thinking about as I was thinking about this question is how, like I said, how critical it is to be able to utilize your communication skills to persuade, to think creatively, to be able to communicate clearly. It's such a huge piece of being in the workforce. But as far as like additional skills, I really feel like over the last decade, the workplace has evolved into a really data-based, decision making, and how we're collecting data and data points and telling a story about what we're seeing within, the organization. So whether we're talking about customer-facing roles or sales roles, or for me, like HR roles, being someone who can understand how to gather data, how to, digest it and synthesize it, and then how to tell a story, to create a pathway for what's next, I think is a really good thing in addition to, the skills that you're learning in your current major.
I think for me, everything, because like she was saying, society is changing, the way we work is changing. I find that for me, with a lot of the folks fresh out of school, some of the just kind of more basics of business communication, business etiquette, sending professional emails, how do you conduct yourself in a meeting, answering a telephone. I think especially young folks, and I'm guilty of it myself, our instinct is to text or just send an email. And I know for our editors, we have a lot of authors that they want to talk to their editor. And so just having kind of that basic etiquette of answering a phone, talking on the phone, crafting a professional email, I think are a lot of the things that when I have someone new on the team, I actually have to spend time kind of working with them on some of those basics. I think having, for what we do and being a book editor, having a good ability to research. And I'm sure Matt can even speak to that better than I can, but being able to research things a little bit. Every time a new book comes your way and you're going to edit that book, you almost have to learn a little bit about the topic that you're working on. Maybe do a little bit of research of, hey, did this writer spell these names of these people correctly? Or if they're citing other books, that they want the reader to read to learn more on the topic, look those books up and things like that. So I think some of those things are, for what we do, are important skills that I like folks to have too, besides kind of course, knowing all your grammar and all that stuff to actually be able to edit books. I think too, for anybody interested in the publishing environment, an English degree is helpful. What I have found sometimes, and maybe I'm a little biased, is I think that sometimes the folks that come from a communication journalism background, right off the get-go, can jump into book editing almost easier in a way, because they have more of that training of being an inquisitive mind, and almost like fact checking behind the author. Did the author, put the right information in their book? Is the structure of it organized in a way that the reader can understand easily? Things like that. So I think, like I said, that research capability, being inquisitive, I think is really helpful too.
Yeah, so we have a lot of interns that come in, and actually have opening right now if anybody is interested. I see Hunter there. He was a great intern for us. But one of the biggest skills that probably isn't a skill, it's just landing in the middle of an environment that you don't exactly know how it works or what you're going to do, and then just doing it and not giving up is such a big thing for us. Like, 'cause we have this weekly deadline that never goes away. And so if somebody walks through the door and they're like, we want to help out, we're like, we're going to let you can help out. You don't have to you don't have to have already won a Pulitzer. You can we'll find a job for you. And the interns that kind of come in and take off are the ones that don't come in acting like they know everything. I think that's what the best thing to do is just to come in and say, you almost know more if you admit that you don't know everything. And that is the secret. That's the secret of even the professionals. Lots of times people are faking it. They just, they're figuring it out as they're going. So that willingness to land in a situation, know that you might not know everything, but you're gonna find a way to learn it is just huge in this profession and probably in like any profession. Um, just not giving up is such a big thing. And if you have that, then you'll figure it out. Like once you show up.
Great. So from what I heard, it sounds like some basic soft skills, the answering the phones, the returning emails in proper grammar within an expected time frame, being inquisitive, doing some research. Some of those are some key skills that our students could maybe work on, put a little extra time in. Great. Okay. Well, let's move on. What experiences do you like to see on a new graduate's resume when they apply for a job with your company?
For me, it's internships for sure. I 100% look at what internships they may have done. If there's anything above and beyond what their school offers. I've had folks that are looking to be book editors that have done summer programs that are specific to publishing, because not every college does have some of the same. I mean, North Georgia is great and has a lot of great programs that tie directly into working for a book publisher, but not everybody does have that luxury. So I look at, is there anything else that you've done, in your free time, any other programs that you have taken? Or, do you, if you want to be an editor, have you done a little bit of maybe just freelance of helping edit things for your friends? Or did you find an author through a writing group that needed somebody to proofread their book? Or do you tutor in writing or things like that? So I kind of look for that other stuff beyond just, the classroom work that's part of your degree program.
I think to kind of piggyback off of what Angela's saying, certainly, that internship experience is really key. But if someone hasn't had the opportunity to have, an entry-level position or an internship position just yet, I think one of the things that would stand out for me is seeing some leadership positions maybe within your school or within your community, to show that you have the ability to handle managing projects, managing time, and really being able to kind of to adapt and to inspire and lead people. So I think that would be a key in addition to what Angela was saying, because I think for sure having those internships and having those freelance experiences and things where maybe you just jumped in and offered to help just to gain the insight and the knowledge, so in addition to that.
For us, like if I see a resume, you can dress it up as much as you want, but if someone is like submitted a clip of an actual story or more than one clip or photos, then it goes from, like, once again, we're still on deadline, and I'm just thinking I could take that story and just plug it into our paper. It's not like you're not having to dress it up or like it's convinced me why this is good, why you're good at what you do. If you can just produce that and then include that in the resume, that's a huge thing. And not to turn this into just a commercial for the Nugget internship, but that's what that's what a lot of that's what we do. Like when the interns land here, they kind of become reporters and take away those the clips and stuff, and hopefully that helps them get to the next level if they want to go to the next level.
So we would wholeheartedly agree in career services that internships, getting real life work experience is just so beneficial, and it really will put students really ahead of any other recent graduate who really just focused on the schoolwork and wasn't able to bring on some more experiential learning. So internships, I love that. I love, considering keeping a portfolio of that work that you're doing. So you have tangible, here is my actual work. This is proving that I can do the job. So those are some great suggestions. So maybe just tweaking that a little bit, what's the best way for a new graduate to stand out?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Sorry. What I would say, one thing is you probably shouldn't be afraid. Like if you're looking for a job, don't be afraid to bug the person who is like the gatekeeper at that job. So much for us is we're busy. Like if I don't respond to an email, it's not because I didn't like you or didn't like your resume. It's like it got lost in the shuffle, which it shouldn't happen. But it transfers completely to how we are when we're writing our stories, because people are doing that to us all the time. We're asking questions, we're sending emails, and then they're kind of like putting us aside too. So it shows your skills as a reporter if you can get in front of us, and like that means like, yeah, probably picking up the phone. Like if you're looking for a job and you're that person that actually called in and said, hey, I'm very interested in this. I don't know, you don't want to like stalk the person, but like if you show up in the front office, and that is going to probably put you in a different category from the people that are just going onto monster.com and just sending resumes that are coming through. All you see is emails. That's a good way to stand out, is to actually find a way to put your face and your voice with your resume. And there's not that many people that do that. It's kind of rare. So it's a good way to jump ahead, I think.
That's
I
true.
love that
And
you, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so
oh,
sorry.
no, you go ahead. That's okay.
I was just gonna say, I really love that. I was kind of thinking the same thing of how rare it is these days, especially in recruiting, which I'm in. And we also have an internship right now too. So Matt, I will jump on your coattails and do a commercial for Oberman Law as well. But having people who actually call, who actually make the effort to come in and show up. And then I think, just to kind of piggyback a little bit of what Matt said, is knowing the people that you're talking to. So maybe doing a cursory, like, what's their profile on LinkedIn look like? What is kind of the mission, vision, and values of the organization potentially? Just so that you have a little bit of background knowledge when you're coming in and you're selling yourself, your audience, and that you're selling yourself in a way that's compelling. So I'm sorry, Angela, I didn't mean to jump
No,
in there.
please. No, you're fine. No, you're fine. We also are looking for interns.
Oh,
So lots of opportunities for you guys right now. No, I think, yeah, to build on what both of you all said, I think for me, having some kind of personal connection. So if you did an internship with me here and you did do a great job and I remember you, I definitely reach back out. I'm actually in touch right now with a North Georgia student that had interned here a while back. Because I check in with her every once in a while and she checks in with me. Hey, do you have anything open? Because she did such a great job when she was here as an intern that basically the second that I have an editorial opening here, I would love to get her in, because I can only have so many editors at a time. But we have, like Matt was saying, we had a young woman that she just showed up resume in hand. And I was giving her a tour, and as I mentioned, my dad started the company. He still hangs out sometimes, so he was here that day and he hired her on the spot. And she wanted to be an editor, but at that point we didn't have a position, so she did other positions here until we were able to move her up to editor. So I think sometimes for me, it's seeing that somebody has a willingness to try and learn and do other things that you can't always necessarily immediately start out in your ideal career. I think is, important. I know for me, the way that I stood out when I got hired at the first television station that I was at is I was interning and I completed the internship hours, but my semester wasn't over. And at the TV station at the time, it was a smaller station, a Fox station. They always needed help. And I said, hey, guys, is it cool? Like, I've done all my hours. I don't need to keep coming here, but I would like to. Can I just basically kind of keep being an intern until the semester's over? And they love that. And when some shuffling happened of positions, they ended up offering me a job. And I hate to say this, they actually let somebody else go and hired me. Because I guess I had made a great impression. And when they were shuffling positions, they ended up, saying, well, we're going to let this person go and we like Angela enough to bring her in. So I think for me, that kind of worked out. So.
Great. So again, to kind of reiterate, it sounds like having some tenacity, not giving up on what you want in a job or an internship, that goes a long way. And then again, I like Natalie is just do some basic research on the company. You know, don't go in just saying, well, I saw the job and thought, yeah, that's it, but know something that you're gonna lend some value to that company. And don't be dismayed if the ideal job at the ideal company isn't available. Maybe look for other roles that could be a good fit where you could then work your way into that quote ideal job. So again, good feedback. All right. What does a day in the life look like for an entry-level new employee at your company?
For us, we have a proud tradition of just throwing new reporters into the deep end of like, and so entry level area is just not. You just kind of you like you show up and like, and this is how it worked for me. Like I'd never worked at a newspaper. I had an English degree. Showed up the way I got my job was I went to journalismjobs.com and really clicked the first one I clicked on was a small newspaper down in Jessup, Georgia. And they wound up hiring me, but I just really didn't know what I was doing. They gave me the crime beat, which was fun, and then the city council beat. And here's your notebook and here's your pen, and okay, now go make some stories. And that's kind of like for our profession, that's kind of how it is, because we got to make one of these every week. So there isn't so much of a the training is so much like on the job that you're really just doing the job, which is the same way that our internships work too. Like we assign stories, and then you have to find a way to make that a story. So you know that we wouldn't have you write the staff editorial for first day, but a lot of it is just kind of jumping in and figuring out what you need to figure out, and then just you kind of see what you produce within by the end of the week, because we got to get that paper out. So.
We have our situation, you know, what we do a day in the life here for someone who's like a legal assistant or a paralegal, which I think would be a job that would fit well with an English major, because there is a lot of writing documents, proofreading documents, editing documents, you know, but you're getting that slant of like the justice system and, you know, different facets of law. At our law firm, we focus on trust and estates. So you're doing a lot of like wills and planning with your attorneys. We do some litigation, and we do a lot of corporate and employment and labor law. So we're helping, you know, small businesses, or, you know, like dentistry or in healthcare. We're helping them develop their HR practices. We're helping them develop their employment practices. We're walking them through any potential labor disputes that they may have, and making sure that they're aware legally of what, you know, what their recourse is in certain situations. So for a legal assistant and a paralegal, you're really customer client facing. So you're definitely interacting with the clients. You're definitely interacting with your attorneys. You're the liaison between the two for the most part. And it's really exciting for our paralegals and our legal assistants, because there's not one day that's exactly the same from the last day. So you are really getting visibility into a lot of different processes within the legal field, and being able to utilize those skills, like, you know, your grammar skills, your proofreading, your editing, and really helping your attorney kind of shape the narrative of the case and the matter. So that the day in the life is very much just a constant stream of communication between the attorneys, between the clients, and then, you know, kind of bridging that gap and connecting those dots.
For us, for book editors, really, we offer multiple levels of editing. for our authors to choose from. So when somebody is new to the team, typically they're going to start with the proofreading. So they will be doing a lot of essentially proofreading behind another editor who's done kind of maybe the higher levels of editing or previous rounds of editing, really just to get a good handle on a clean proofread. And, you know, some folks pick that up a little bit faster than others. With book publishing, there is a different style guide that we use than some other industries, or that some folks don't really use much in school, which is Chicago Manual of Style. So in the beginning, we're really wanting somebody to spend a lot of time becoming more familiar with that, working with them on that, you know, and I'll work with them, go behind their proofread, and I may point out things that they've missed for them to kind of practice on. There's not as much interaction with the author when you're new to the team. We kind of ease folks into that as they advance and move up into the higher levels of editing and working with the author directly. But certainly there's a lot of internal working with, you know, the rest of our team, working with the designers to give input on things the designers are doing. Does the cover fit the book? That kind of thing. And as somebody becomes more comfortable and kind of get some of those skills under their belt more, then we start to kind of move them up into the other levels of editing and working with the authors more.
Well, thank you for giving us a little bird's eye view into what that new job experience might look like. So for my final question of the panel, what one piece, and if you have two, I'm sure that that's okay, advice would you like to leave our students with today?
I think for me, and this I think goes back to my personal journey, because like Matt said, mine has also been very winding, and I didn't have a straight shot from A to B. So I think my biggest piece of advice would be to try new things, you know, really expose yourself to as many different opportunities and experiences that as you can. Take the opportunity to have internships at different, you know, types of businesses to see if maybe there's not a role or a position that you're like, wow, I never would have imagined myself in this industry or in this role, but this really speaks to, you know, my passions and my gifts and my skills that I, you know, am starting to compile and put together and hone as I'm in school and graduating and interning and this and that. So I really think that the biggest piece of advice that I would give is to just try new experiences, expose yourself to different roles and different jobs, have those conversations, continue to have them with yourself, continue to have them with your career advisors, continue to have them with your peers, and just bounce ideas off, and don't be afraid to jump into something that you maybe didn't think right off the bat was for you.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of similar to just jump when it's time to jump, just jump in. And I think the somewhere I read an article somewhere where it said that the English majors are really very good at adapting, because we're kind of trained in who knows what, like you're just very general. Like if you're trained to be a surgeon, then you know I got to do this, sir, I got to do this. And when you're English major, you're like, okay, once you graduate, like what now? You could be a teacher, you could be a reporter. That kind of philosophy and attitude, to where you walk in and you're not like, I'm sorry, I'm only trained for this very specific thing. Instead, you're like, what can I do? What can I learn? It is huge. It's just huge, and it doesn't matter what profession you go into. Um, just just being willing to be flexible and do aspects of the job, and you wind up places that you might not have ever planned to wind up in. Is probably just, I think, what I've learned is just the best thing for any profession. And if you do that, then eventually you learn enough to where the people come in behind you, and you can kind of like share that, and you can help them too.
I think start somewhere, you know, something tied to maybe what you want to do you know, because you may not exactly get your dream job right off the bat, and being flexible, but just starting somewhere that is maybe tied to what you want to do long term. Being okay with the idea that maybe it's not going to work out in the way that you thought. I have a lot of folks that maybe get like down on themselves or hard on themselves because maybe they realize, I've had folks, they realize later they don't like editing, and that's okay. And they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Like, I thought this was what I wanted to do. I thought this was my dream job, and it's not. And I mean, we've actually had folks move to entirely different positions in the company out of editing, or vice versa. I've had folks start in other areas and move into editing. And so being, you know, just being easy on yourself, because you never know where you're going to end up. I'm certainly not where I thought I was going to be, you know, and I think that happens for a lot of folks. But like Matt was saying, I think, you know, if you've got that skill set, that well-roundedness to you, that you can move and adapt into different environments, I think you're going to do just fine.
If I can add one thing, just as you were talking, Angela, it reminded me of a book that I read by an author named Catherine Brooks, and the book is called "You Majored in What? Designing Your Career Path from College to Career." And I just wanted to throw that out there as a potential resource. If, you know, there's also another book called "What Color Is Your Parachute?" Just like you said, Angela, because I know I'm not where I thought I was going to end up. And having certain resources that you can use to kind of help start that conversation with yourself of like, okay, I graduated, I've got this degree, like you said, Matt, now what? You know, so just wanted to throw that out there as some options.
Yeah, those are that. Well, I don't know the first one, but the parachute book is really good, and really it's all about those transferable skills. So as a little nugget, I guess, for you students, when you start working on your resumes and start applying, you have a lot of skills. You've learned a lot of them in your classroom, in your part-time jobs, in your internships, all these experiences that just because you didn't do the exact thing that they're looking for in the job description, you may still have the ability to do it. So how do you talk about those skills and things that you've learned and done and transfer them in a way that it makes sense for that job that you're applying for? So Career Services is here to help if you need help with that. Well, I would like, since you all have mentioned it, if you could give us information about open jobs, because we may have some seniors graduating in May coming up who are looking, and you guys are all local, which is great. And then also the internships that you have, and how you best would like them to apply, whether it's, you know, handshake, directly on your site, whatever that might be.
So for BookLogix, we are growing, which is awesome. We are looking for a few different folks. So which some of this may not interest you guys, but we're looking for another graphic designer. We're looking for basically a customer service rep, which I've had English majors end up doing, because part of it is talking to the author about the process of putting a book together and having that understanding, and you're working with the author to see what services we sell that they are going to need. So that's another opening. I feel like there's one more I'm forgetting. But for internships, we love having folks. You do get to try a variety of things here. So even if you come to me and say, hey, I know I want to be a book editor, I'm still going to have you shadow and kind of learn all the different parts of the publishing process to get that full taste, because an editor interacts with everybody else here, you know, in our building to help put this book together, make it a complete product. For an internship or a job, you can certainly check out our website. We do have a dedicated email address, which is jobs@booklogix.com, or feel free just to contact me directly. I have a soft spot for anybody from North Georgia, even though I didn't go there myself. We've had a great relationship with the school for so many years. So definitely, if I see that email address, I kind of put them at the top of my list. So.
And if it's
Yeah.
okay, I
Okay.
can share your email addresses. If you don't want me to, just let me know, but I can
Yes.
share those out with the students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for internships, we just had people just that have walked in and just said, I want to be an intern. We've had emails, calls. It really doesn't matter. But when it comes to a job right now at the Nugget, I think we're kind of at full staff, but we are part of a family of newspapers, and it's CNI. You can check it out. It's cninewspapers.com. So like White County News. Usually, if it's the newspaper around smaller newspaper around North Georgia, they're probably CNI. Clayton, all it goes all the way down to Florida, really, and then up in South Carolina. They're always. It seems like one of these papers is always looking for a reporter, and lots of times the CEO of the company, Alan Neesmith, is calling me because he knows that we're next to UNG. And so he's like, I need somebody. And lots of times it's the last intern that we have. And so they're really like very familiar with UNG, and a phone call over there to like CNI newspapers could, if you're interested in going into that type of thing, into reporting, then that's a good way to go.
We over at Oberman Law Firm are growing as well. We are in the process of doing a national expansion with our attorneys. So that means that we're always looking for support staff. So that's paralegals, legal assistants, and certainly the legal intern. And what's great about the legal intern, and kind of what Angela was saying, was having that taste of all of the different aspects of how the law firm runs. So not only would you get to participate in the tasks that the legal assistant and the paralegals would be doing as kind of a backup to the backup, and looking at files and looking at motions and looking at matters and things like that. But we also are looking for someone to kind of shadow in the HR role. So recruiting, employee relations, we are doing a lot of policy creation, a lot of the HR pieces as well. And then in addition to that, something that you would also get access to is our marketing team. So I feel like this is another really great area for English majors, because what we're talking about here is assisting with things like internal documents, materials, marketing materials, social media posts, social media kind of management. I know that's another big thing that's kind of emerged in the last few years, is having that social media manager and that person who can kind of come in and manage the branding and the employer branding and things like that. So that's definitely something that we have available within our legal internship. So that would give you a taste of a lot of different areas within the organization. And yes, Lisa, I'm totally okay with you sharing our email address. And if you're interested in checking out the firm, it's obermanlaw.com.
All right. Well, again, thank you for answering all of our questions. I am going to open it up now, because we do have a little bit of time, to students who might have questions to any of our fine panelists. So again, if you wouldn't mind, students out there, if you have a question, if you could turn your camera on. If it's completely unable to do so, that's fine. But turn it on, ask your question, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer it. And I did see James in the chat said that the UNG Libraries has a subscription to the Chicago Style online guide. So he posted that link, which is very kind. Thank you.
Perfect. Excellent.
And you're welcome to type your question into chat too, if you really want to. I'll be okay. All right. Benjamin looks like he's got a question for us. He's moving to a quieter area. Anyone else? Now's your chance. I mean, even if, let's say, you're getting ready to maybe start looking for an internship, if you want to introduce yourself, this would be a great opportunity to do so, and maybe let them see your face and say you're interested. That'd be great. Go ahead, Benjamin.
Oh, I apologize. Admittedly, I shouldn't be multitasking. I just a lot going on right now. I did want to ask a couple questions. I guess so. I mean, it's a little bit silly, but as I'm sure you imagine, a lot of English majors, we get involved in some very odd, unusual artistic directions. So if that for things that occupy that role, how would you mention, like, how do you have any advice on how you advocate for yourself when if you sort of work in that direction? So I guess I ask this because, like, I've put a lot of time into it's just like a weird hobby of mine. It's like making board games and such, and like there is some work in that, but I also acknowledge it's not like that is something that is tricky to just tack onto a resume at the end and be like, and also I made these board games. I don't know, like, do you have any advice on presenting yourself in that way, in a way that is effective and sounds professional?
I certainly think that if you have jobs that you're looking at, like let's say you really wanted to work for Angela or Matt or myself, and you went to the website and looked at a particular job description or asked Lisa if they could provide you with the job description for the interns, you can take those skills that you're talking about, even if they're your hobby, and look at what goes into building those board games. So potentially, there's research of how is this going to work. There's, maybe there's like a whole math side of it's got to add up to this. It's got to look like this. It's got to, perform this way. You're managing all these different aspects. Like, so maybe you can see now that I'm already starting to pick out skills that you have in how you're building these board games that can translate. So if you're looking at a job description and you're seeing that, like the job description at Matt's place is saying, we need you to be able to manage the, story creation from start to finish, or maybe Angela's place is saying, we need you to be able to proofread and do this and pull out things that, someone else isn't seeing, or you're looking at my thing and you're saying, oh, it's, communication, it's, it's working with different people. You have those skills that you're already doing within the hobbies and within the schoolwork that you're doing. If you're pulling them out in such a way that highlights how it's a match, I think that is a way for you to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, I think you're like, there's definitely a way to dress up anything on a resume to where it sounds impressive, and that is impressive. But if it's like research and development of creation of these board games, that actually that's something that probably get more attention than something than the usual stuff. And it also, going into an interview, the best interviews that I have, I kind of forget that they're interviews, and I stop, like, I don't have my list of questions and stuff, but I kind of just put that to the side. If that's something that you were sitting in an interview and you brought that up, and it's something you can talk about because you're passionate about it, that can kind of elevate the interview from a regular job interview to where you're actually just sharing part of yourself. And so that could definitely be something that could kind of take up your resume or your chances of getting a job, I would think.
It may not work for everywhere, but I can envision a really cool looking resume if you're into board games. And if you're looking to work in a more creative environment, I could see that being appealing, of, whether it's just something simple like a little board game looking border around the resume, or a little card that you make that you send to them or drop off or something. I think there's like limitless possibilities, but I think it would depend on the employer. I don't know that everybody's going to love that, but I know our team, if we saw something like that, that would instantly like put your submission at the top of the pile, because it's overwhelming. Like, we use Indeed and Craigslist and some of that stuff when we have open postings, and like a lot of people use those templates that those job sites provide, and everything just starts to look the same after a while. And I get flooded, and I only have so much time, each day or week or whatever to dedicate to going through those resumes. So for me, being in somewhat of a creative environment here as a publisher, you know, stuff like that helps folks stand out to me. I love stuff like that. And it helps separate from all the other templated resumes that literally look exactly the same. So I just envision some cool creative stuff you could do just to even get your name to the top of the pile. So.
I had a question kind of on the topic of resumes. And I received a few different answers to this, I guess, when I've asked this question to employers and career services people in the past. I guess, like how, what would you recommend, like, as far as length of a resume for like an entry-level job? Because I've heard people say, put as much experience as you can on there, or try to make it like a maximum of 1 page to like maximize readability. I've been lucky enough to have a good bit of experience in these sorts of fields, especially with my internship with the Nugget. I have a pretty, I guess, just lengthy portfolio of work that I feel like I could show. And one of my concerns is that, I'm unsure exactly like how much I need to be showing, like in putting together a resume.
Yeah, it's probably different for every job. Like for me, I'm I'm always in a time crunch too. So it isn't like if it's a short resume, that's not necessarily bad because if you have it on a page and it's just there and you can see it. I mean, with you, like if you're applying for a newspaper, I would probably want to see. You probably couldn't give me too many clips, really. Because there's different situations that an editor or a publisher would think, oh, okay, this would fill this news hole right here, and this could go here next week. That's a little bit different than just the usual, just where you're trying to describe what you can do. You're showing what you can do. So that's probably if you have those clips, I wouldn't hold back on them. I'd just like let them have all the clips.
So
I think that's a
perhaps in
really
that
good-
situation, could he, keep his work experience on the resume, but maybe create if you can find a free source to create a website where you could upload all of your articles and things, and so your actual skills, what you've learned, what you've accomplished, jobs, school, all that would be on the resume on the one page, but then also here's my portfolio link, and then they can go and really see what you can do.
Right. I've
Sorry,
seen
go ahead,
those
Natalie.
and they're really good. Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point, Matt, what you said too about it being kind of depending on the job. I think the most important thing for your question, Hunter, is just knowing your audience, knowing what the job description looks like, knowing what the company looks like. I prefer, like Matt said, I don't have all the time in the world. I'm also, Angela, getting inundated with resumes all the time, and they start to look alike and all of that. So the shorter, the better, but I do see the value in having, as much information and experience as you can put on there. I think it's really just knowing your audience and then tailoring your resume to really speak to the specific job that you're applying for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've noticed some folks, and I used to do it myself, having different versions of your resume, essentially. If there are different types of positions you're applying for, although make sure, I sometimes get folks when they apply for positions with us, and I'm like, I'm sure you sent the wrong version of your resume to me. I think you meant to give me a different one. Yeah, I mean, if a resume I prefer single page myself for entry-level positions. If it's beyond that first page, I may just kind of quickly glance, but I prefer that all the good stuff that is really tied to the job you want to apply for with me is like, there's a newspaper term above the fold. I don't know if they still use that anymore. But put all the good stuff right near the top. Any internships or work experience or things that you've done that you feel that I'm going to want to know about the most, put that stuff right near the beginning. Do I like to see hobbies and stuff? Yeah, I might look at it real quick, but like, put the good stuff right there that I zone in on that first. And I would say too, just like stay away from some of those templates for resumes that some of the big job sites provide. Cause like I was saying, they all just kind of look the same. And after a while, I'm just like, did I already read this resume? It kind of looks like the other ones, so.
Well, thank you so much. That's really helpful information.
Yeah, great question. It's always really helpful to have questions about resumes. I think that's one of the biggest things for people who are getting ready to graduate, to touch on. So thanks for asking it for everybody's sake.
Ashley says, do you accept graduate students for internships as well, or only the undergrads?
We would certainly consider graduate students. Absolutely.
For BookLogix, we do want any intern to be going through some kind of a school program. So yeah, as long as there's some kind of a program where it's done through the school and you're getting credit and stuff like that, I don't really care, otherwise, which degree you're trying to get or where you are in life or whatever, as long as it's kind of through some kind of program. Because I do every once in a while have folks that just off the street want to walk in and do an internship, and we just prefer that it's through a program where it's kind of like vetted with the college. So
Yeah, we've had the whole range of, we had like high school students who have walked in and said, I want to work for free, and we're like, we will let you work for free. And then that guy actually became a full-time reporter eventually. But yes, we would. It really, for us, it doesn't matter, graduate, undergraduate. You come on in.
I have a few minutes left, so anyone else want to ask a question, comment, anything? All right, well, we will get this video out to Dr. Getty and others, I'm sure, who can get it out to students, as well as contact information. They did post their websites in the chat, so go check that. Dr. Getty, do you have any thoughts or questions?
No, I'm just very grateful the three of you took some time out of your schedule to come and talk to us. I really appreciate it, and it's been very, very helpful.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
thank you.
Yeah, you
It's
guys were
fun.
great. Thank you so much, and we'll say goodbye to everyone.
Bye.
You all,
Bye, thank
nice
you.
meeting you all.
I think that was good.
That really was. That went really well.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording.